You ever wonder how a computer could actually get the full story in a sentence? I mean, not just the words, but the whole picture? Well, today we're diving into a really cool, logical framework that's designed to do exactly that. To teach machines how to understand the rich, messy, and complex context of our language.
So, here's the game plan. First, we'll unpack why language is so darn complex for computers in the first place. Then, we'll look at the first real crack at solving this, something called the Davidsonian approach, and see why it didn't quite cut it. After that, we'll bring in a new player, the idea of situations, which sets the stage for our main event, a powerful new logic called FOL***. And to wrap it all up, we'll see how this stuff actually connects to making machines understand us better.
All right, let's get right into it. Why is this even a puzzle? Well, it's because our everyday language is just packed with nuance, right? It's got all these implied meanings and connected ideas that old-school, rigid logic, well, it just breaks when it tries to handle them.
I mean, think about it for a second. When you hear a sentence, your brain doesn't just tick off the list of facts, does it? No, you instantly create this whole mental movie, a complete scenario. So the big question is, how in the world do we get a machine to do that? How do we teach it to see the whole story, not just the individual words?
And that really gets to the heart of the challenge here. This isn't just about teaching a computer to understand simple facts, like the sky is blue. The real goal is to get it to understand what logicians call arbitrarily complex sentences. These are the sentences that describe a whole scene, with causes, effects, and all the messy, real-world details that come with it. So the first big attempt to crack this code, it came from a philosophical approach that was, well, it was really elegant, but as we're about to see, it was just a little too simple for the real world. Think of it as the first draft.
Okay, so this Davidsonian approach, its whole strategy was to zoom in on the most basic action in a sentence, the core verb, what the pros call an atomic predicate. So if you have a sentence like, John quickly ran home, this method would pretty much just see the running part. All that extra detail, like how he ran or where he was going, yeah, that gets left on the cutting room floor.
And you can probably see the problem, right? This whole system was designed for these neat little building blocks. But our language, it's not neat. It's messy. It's full of all these extra bits that describe the how, the why, and the where. And this approach just didn't have a good way to fit those pieces into the puzzle.
But that limitation, it really opened the door for something new, a completely different way of thinking about the problem, a challenger approach that basically flipped the script. And that's where situation semantics comes in.
And the difference between the two is pretty much night and day. Remember how the Davidsonian model was stuck with those super simple, basic actions? Well, situation semantics was built from the ground up to tackle those arbitrarily complex sentences we were talking about. Its whole purpose is to see the entire picture.
So what's the big idea here? It's a huge conceptual leap. It's not just about asking, is this sentence true in this situation? The new idea is that the sentence itself is the description of the situation. It characterizes the whole thing. And that, right there, is absolutely essential if you want to understand stuff like cause and effect. And this whole concept comes from a philosophical shift that basically said, hey, sentences aren't just about being true or false. Instead, the idea is that sentences actually point to, or refer to, the real situations out in the world. So meaning isn't just a simple on-off switch. It's completely tied to context. Okay, so we have these two competing ideas, and that brings us to the hero of our story today, a really powerful synthesis that figures out a way to take the best of both worlds and merge them into something new and way more powerful.
It's called FOL**, or FOL**. It's a new kind of situational logic that gets the best of both worlds. It's got the precision of the Davidsonian approach for handling those basic core actions, but it also has the power and flexibility to capture the entire context, just like situation semantics. It's the synthesis we've been looking for.
So how does it actually work? Well, it's pretty clever. It takes a really complex situation and kind of deconstructs it into a join or a combination of those simple Davidsonian-style basic events. But here's the really cool part. It also makes room for the things that didn't happen. The negative statements. Because sometimes what isn't there is just as important as what is. And what you end up with is a system that feels way more human. It aligns with our own intuition. It can figure out if something is true within a specific context. It can confirm that a situation a sentence describes is a real thing. And it can even track how details carry over and persist through time or across different parts of a scenario. Get this, it's even smart enough to tell the difference between different types of actions. It knows that a telic action is something with a clear finish line, like building a house. You're done when the house is built. And it knows that's different from an atelic action, which is just ongoing, like walking in the park. There's no specific endpoint there. That kind of nuance is a total game changer for genuine understanding.
Okay, so this is all really cool, nerdy logic stuff. But so what? Why does any of this actually matter? Let's connect the dots and bring this back to the real world.
Right, so FO double star isn't just some abstract idea on a whiteboard. It's actually a critical piece of a much bigger project called episodic logic. And that is a real, working system that's being built with one ultimate goal in mind: to help computers finally achieve real, genuine language understanding.
And this whole way of thinking about situations, it's already popping up in all sorts of different fields. It's being used in what's called epistemic logic, which is the logic of belief and awareness. It's in inquisitive semantics, which is the logic of questions. It's even used to build models for strategic questioning. Think about the logic you use in a game of Guess Who. It's that foundational.
So that leaves us with a pretty big final question to think about. We're getting closer and closer to teaching machines not just to crunch words, but to actually understand the stories and the context behind them. So if we can really pull this off, if we can teach logic, the nuance of a situation, what's next? What's the next frontier for how we talk to and work with the machines we're building?